you hear, sir?
Thank you very much, Fernandez. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ucheibe. I am a partner in the law firm of Aluko and Oyebode. I work in the disputes practice of the firm, and I also head the taxation practice of the firm. Between July 2017 and July 2019, I served as the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association, Lagos branch, and I've been a member of the National Executive Committee of the NBA since 2017. In very short order, I'll be introducing the other members of the panel. But before I get to that, I would like to welcome all the participants to this session, which promises to be very exciting, engaging, and informative. I would like to thank the organizers of this event for inviting me and my fellow panelists. And the session today will be focusing on mentorship and professional growth. The panelists will be speaking on some of the subtopics which have been allocated to them. And I eagerly anticipate the session discussion because I know it's going to be, very exciting. So, in my view, the topic that we're going to be focusing on today is one that is topical and timely. And I think that the organizers of the event have done a great job in arranging a very wonderful panel of speakers to examine this topic. So without much ado, I'll go straight to introducing members of the panel. And I will start with the member who is going to be, presenting, the keynote address, Mr. Tobenna Erojikwe, who is a very, very good friend and brother of mine. Tobenna is a partner at the Law Crest LLP. He was admitted to practice in Nigeria in the year 2000 and in England and Wales in January 2005. Tobenna holds a master's degree in law in corporate and project finance. He has extensive experience in the practice of law in the private and public sector in England and Nigeria. He was for a number of years the legal advisor to the London Borough of Barnet on urban regeneration projects. His areas of expertise include project finance law, corporate finance law, oil and gas, public-private partnerships, and urban regeneration. He has been the chairman of the Continuing Professional Development Committee of the NBA Lagos branch since September 2017. Let me just say that Tobenna is someone who is very passionate about the well-being of the young legal professional. In 2017, when I was elected the chairman of the NBA Lagos branch, I appointed Tobenna as the chairman of what then used to be called the Continuing Legal Education Committee of the branch. And every member of the NBA Lagos branch will attest to the wonderful work that committee did under his leadership. So, Mr. Erojikwe, you're welcome to the panel.
Thank you, Leonard Silk.
So the structure that we have adopted is we're going to have Mr. Erojikwe give the lead presentation first. Because of time constraints, he's going to do that in 30 minutes. After that, the other two panelists will make their presentations, and then we'll do a summary of all the presentations, and then we'll invite questions and answers. So over to you, Mr. Erojikwe.
Thank you, Leonard, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and thank you for the introduction. I would only make the point as far as the introduction is concerned that if you recall, during your administration, it was actually christened the Continuing Legal Education and Mentorship Committee of the NBA Lagos branch. I welcome all the delegates to this conference. I'm happy to be part of this August panel for today, and I hope that at the end of today's activities, we would all have learned and unlearned some things. Going straight to the presentation, I'm going to be delivering a paper strictly so-called, so people can actually have copies of it after the presentation. And I'll try my very best to do this within the 30 minutes allocated. Now, the Leonard Chuka had given very good context to why we're here today. But I say one particular thing that we must all bear in mind through this session is that the paper that I'll be delivering will be focused largely on the audience of young lawyers. However, all those who are the small senior lawyers who are here are quite happy to remain part of the session, because mentorship is something that is continuous. It continues to the grave, and you will find that out from the discussion today if you don't know that already. But the critical point why one would look particularly at the economic situation in Nigeria is that, simply put, you don't have enough employment opportunities for young lawyers. So the training that is available, the day-to-day mentorship that is available is actually lacking. And at the end of the paper, we hope that we would have come to some sort of agreement on what we need to do to make things better. Now, I would like us to reflect on a quote that was given to me by one of my mentees when I mentioned that I was going to be discussing this paper today. And it's a quote from Robert Greene from his book, Mastery. And I find it quite illuminating, so I've started the paper with that little quote. The quote goes, "The mentor-protege relationship is the most efficient and productive form of learning. The right mentors know where to focus your attention and how to challenge you. Their knowledge and experience become yours. They provide immediate and realistic feedback on your work so you can improve more rapidly. Through an intense person-to-person interaction, you absorb a way of thinking that contains great power and can be adapted to your individual spirit. Choose the mentor who best fits your needs and connects to your life's tasks." Now, if Robert is correct, then it will be inimical for anybody to live life indeed at any point in time in his life or career without a mentor. Now, going to the paper, I've been asked to speak on the topic mentorship for professional growth. I've also been asked to consider a number of subtopics, including choosing a career path, the role of the bar, professional growth, etc., all within the context of mentorship. During the course of this discourse, I will consider some of the career growth challenges that face the young lawyer in today's Nigeria, with a view to establishing the premise that without conscious attention to career development, and specifically mentorship, the legal profession in Nigeria would indeed be at risk of extinction. With a proper foundation regarding the reason for greater attention to be paid to mentorship in the Nigerian legal space laid, I will then discuss a few conceptual issues relating to mentoring within the professional space and aim to establish that it's imperative that we have a structured mentoring regime in the bar. I will then briefly look at the relevance of mentoring to career development and professional development. We'll also discuss mentorship tips and strategies, and then conclude with the role of the bar in creating institutional platforms for career development related activities of its members. Now, the first thing we'll be considering is the young lawyer, the legal profession, and existential issues. The Nigerian Law School is said to graduate about 5,000 lawyers every year. The factors discussed in the presentation considered, this is by far a significant number for an economy such as Nigeria's to carry. There is a converse argument that with a population said to be in the region of 200 million citizens, and an economy that is reportedly the largest in Africa going by its gross domestic product, we should not find it difficult to keep the number of lawyers who graduate from the Nigerian Law School every year gainfully employed. It speaks to the contradictions easily found in Nigeria that what most times should stand reasonable and to reason does not. It is a case that despite the population and the supposed economic strength of Nigeria, the Nigerian economy has not shown that it has the elasticity, sophistication, and dynamism to absorb the potential value in the legal industry in Nigeria and to keep the legal industry active and the lawyers in the legal market gainfully engaged and prosperous. In my view, There are a number of reasons why the legal industry in Nigeria finds itself in an obvious contradiction that despite its huge population and economy, it struggles to keep a number that is far less than 200,000 lawyers in aggregate gainfully engaged. An understanding of some of our issues will hopefully help us situate today's conversation appropriately. We live in an environment where the average Nigerian does not see value in the use of legal services, and so habitually does not seek legal support or service where he or she should. Most Nigerian businesses only engage a lawyer when it is absolutely necessary to do so. The Nigerian economy is the case that despite the population and the supposed economic strength of Nigeria, the Nigerian economy has not shown that it has the elasticity, sophistication, and dynamism to absorb the potential value. An understanding of some of the issues will hopefully help us situate today's conversation appropriately. So most Nigerian businesses only engage a lawyer when it's absolutely impossible to avoid engaging one. So you find that the businesses and individuals mostly then engage the use of lawyers in dispute scenario that require litigation or formal arbitration proceedings for resolution. The situation is made worse by the fact that there appears to be a consensus even amongst lawyers that in Nigeria, litigation as conventional dispute resolution mechanism is very frustrating. Also, the legal profession in Nigeria is in serious competition with foreign law firms who are constantly making incursions into the Nigerian economy, especially in areas where Nigerian lawyers are perceived, rightly or wrongly, not to have expertise. There is also the matter of other professionals like the accountants and estate surveyors making incursions into the market for legal services in Nigeria. These challenges constitute an existential threat to the legal services industry in Nigeria. And the context in which this is discussed is the fact that we don't have enough law firms in Nigeria that are properly structured to provide the training and mentorship needed for young lawyers to evolve properly. And you find that, I think statistically from one of the research I did, it's only about 15% of those who graduate from the Nigerian law school that get employment. So the rest of them will have to find a way to make a living without adequate tutelage or pupillage or training on how to go about these things. The above points have been made to illustrate the fact that the pipeline of legal service work in the Nigerian economy struggles to carry the number of lawyers in Nigeria. While there might appear to be a lot of space at the top of the legal profession in Nigeria, there is definitely a struggle at the lower rungs of the ladder. Without a pipeline of grow, gain experience of professional expertise. Experience in the legal profession is material to the professional growth and career development of every lawyer. It is therefore the case that the primary source of training, career growth, and mentorship is the workplace. And I say this with a lot of emphasis as far as our profession is concerned. That is where a young lawyer cuts his or her teeth. You may witness the growth trajectory of the up-and-coming law firms in Nigeria. You will surely come to the conclusion that most of them had a stint in one of the more of the established firms in Nigeria. And again, it's all about what you learn and what you know and what you see and how you apply them in your daily lives. And most times the ones you pick up unconsciously are more important than the ones that you pick up consciously. Now we'll look again at mentorship for professional growth as a subtopic. The importance of mentorship to professional growth cannot be overemphasized. When we were in school, there was that popular cliche, show me your friends and I will tell you who you are. As far as mentorship is concerned, I will say, show me your mentors and I will tell you how successful you could become. I made that point, I made it above that where you are a lawyer is critical to your development. This is where you get your first level of mentorship, no matter how informal or unstructured. Now, let's look at a typical definition of mentorship. And I'll go to Wikipedia. It says it's a relationship in which a more experienced or knowledgeable person helps to guide a less experienced and knowledgeable person. The mentor may be older or younger, but they must have certain area of expertise. It is a learning and development partnership between a person with vast experience and someone who wants to learn. Critical, someone who wants to learn. So the recipient and the person who is the purveyor must be somebody who is willing and ready to learn. So we'll underline that and come back to it as we move along. Professional mentorship has also been defined as a process by which an individual guides or is guided by another. Now, guiding and learning, two key words. I found in my interactions with young lawyers in Nigeria that whilst the concept of mentoring appears desirable to the average young lawyer, the basic understanding of the mentorship concept is lacking. So most prospective mentees are not really ready for the mentorship journey. This is because most of the mentees are really not willing to take on new perspectives. If, however, we see mentorship as a nurturing enterprise, then we may have a different understanding and appreciation. I posit that most of the activity we have engaged in during our development involve levels of mentoring, even if it was not so called or we did not realize it for what it was. Mentoring actually starts from the cradle. Parental influences, teachers, seniors at school, and leaders at other extracurricular activities. A major difference between the mentorship received while growing up and professional mentorship is that you control the professional mentorship aspect of your nurture and development process. As far as professional mentoring is concerned, therefore, it will be of immense benefit to start by taking up employment in an environment that has people with experience and exposure to guide you on a day-to-day basis. I find that while the concept of mentorship has evolved, keeps evolving, and is seen as fashionable these days, it has been in existence in different forms over the years. It was much more serious and holistic endeavor in various ancient cultures. For example, the Jews had the rabbinical discipleship system, where the rabbi had disciples that he mentored, from our Lord Jesus Christ to John the Baptist. The Hindus had the guru discipleship system, the Greeks had the sophists, and even traditional African societies had different apprenticeship mentorship systems. So for instance, if you wanted to become a hunter, you would find and engage a good hunter in your village. If you wanted to become a farmer, the same. If you wanted all those traditional institutions that we had then. But the ideal thing then was that most of the people were with their masters day to day. You also had the boy training and mentorship training system, which is very popular in Igbo-speaking states of Nigeria. The common trend with the older system was that the development was holistic, both professional and personal, with the mentees of those days working with and living with their mentors. However, whether we are looking at the modern concepts of or ancient concepts of mentorship, it is important to note that there is and has always been one constant, which is that mentorship is about learning for development, advancement, and growth. So in choosing a place to work, you must inquire about whether there are people at the prospective work location with experience to guide you for the duration of your stay. If you are fortunate and the firm has a structured mentorship system, then please take full advantage of it. If the firm where you work does not have a structured mentorship system, then find a mentor within that firm. The need to find yourself in a good firm with people that have the experience required to mentor you, no matter how informal that the mentorship may be, is made more imperative by the fact that we do not have a pupillage or training contract system in Nigeria, legal system as is the case elsewhere. I've made this point because I consider it critical that the existence of a mentor or mentors in an organization should be a critical consideration in the decisions that we make regarding whether we accept an offer of employment or not. It is important to realize that there are potential mentors in many organizations, even in the very small law firms. But carrying out the analysis of whether there are people with the experience and the exposure that could be potentially beneficial to your career growth in a given work environment is critical. I'm now going to career development. The primary focus of professional mentorship is for the mentor to support the mentee in making positive progress in his or her career growth. It is important that a young lawyer absorbs as much career-related information as possible from as many sources as possible, including information from mentors and about their role models. So the books you read, the things you, whatever information that's relevant to where you're going, you need to absorb them. It's important that a young lawyer approaches identification of a career path meticulously and with an open mind in the very early years of career development. Most people who are able to identify their ultimate career destination early in life have a less difficult journey getting there than those who do not. This is because the career journey is one that is better plotted from the answer to the question. For instance, if you make up your mind early that you want to become a judge or a senior advocate of Nigeria, then you will certainly know that you should find work as a litigator. And surely you would have narrowed down on your pool of choice of mentors and also where to work, what groups to belong to, and where to focus your energies, etc. It is the same principle for those who decide to become corporate lawyers or work in-house or with government or other agencies. It is critical in all of these to find someone with vast experience in the career path that you have chosen to mentor you. A mentor can help you in coming to a decision on the best career path for you and can also give you the necessary guidance on how to get there. Now looking at professional growth. The first point to make regarding professional growth is that everything on the path to growth is in your hands. The choices that you make are completely yours. However, there is immense benefit in having the right mentor at your side when you make career choices. There is immense benefit in hearing from someone who has been there and done that. Remember that no matter how high anyone is in society, the individual can benefit from mentoring. It is important to understand that professional growth is a continuous process and one that should be pursued consistently throughout one's life, as there is no end to learning and there should be no end to the quest for advancement. Modern trends and developments have made it more imperative that we continue to quest for growth and advancement, so we must be resilient in our desire to reinvent ourselves till we are unable to. So, a consistent evaluation of our current position and where we need to get to in our professional development is critical to our advancement. The mentor required at each stage of our development is different from the appropriate one for another stage of development. So we must be conscious of our situation and our career needs in determining the most appropriate person to mentor us at the given stage. I will leave you to ponder on the words of the late Honorable Justice Chukwudifo Oputa to the Supreme Court of Nigeria on the concept of growth. I enjoy this quote a lot because it's very instructive, I think. He says, the Supreme Court should always be alive to the idea that as a society is organic, even so should the law be. Goes on to say that anything organic is subject to the law of life, which is to either grow or die. We are either ascending the steps of life or descending into the precipice of death. I mean, this is very telling. I would ask that you consider the viewpoint that we either grow or die. It is therefore the case, going by what the late Lord Justice Oputa said, that if we are not advancing, improving, and growing, we are dying quickly or slowly, but dying nevertheless. This is the case of individuals and businesses. So we must keep looking above us and finding mentors with experience required for us to continue to grow and to do better. Now I'll talk about general points and mentorship strategies. There are many types of mentorships and each type has its unique advantages. The important thing always is to be conscious of the purpose of being involved in any mentorship exercise. The one-to-one mentorship is very popular and involves direct mentoring between the mentor and the mentee. This type of mentorship is very structured and gives the mentee a certain level of control over the process. The discussion and guidance given are tailor-made and specific issues relating to the mentee are considered. This type of mentoring is extremely beneficial because it is continuous and the mentee can assess his or her development. There is also the group or speed mentorship, where a mentor provides career development or other guidance to a specific group of people. It can be extremely beneficial also, especially if there is a level of interaction between the mentor and mentees before the session. The interaction could be through questionnaires circulated by the mentor to potential mentees. The mentor would normally pose career development questions, the answers of which would give him or her an understanding of the audience and a good sense of the topics to speak to or how best to navigate them. There is also the reverse mentorship, where much younger ones mentor older people on areas that they have more knowledge. For instance, an associate in an office could mentor a partner on some technology-related issues that the older colleague struggles with. In order to have a good mentorship experience, the mentee must be willing to be guided, willing to learn from the mentor, and must be particular about the choice of the mentor. The mentor must be someone who has made a success of the endeavor that the mentee is seeking growth in. Otherwise, you could be learning to fail. The mentee must have a clear understanding and awareness of his or her current position and have a reasonably good sense of where he or she is going, at least wants to go. The mentorship relationship must be organized, and the mentee must document his or her mentorship experiences. The mentee must also be honest with the mentor in order to achieve desirable outcomes. It's important to always remember that the mentor is not there to judge you. Rather, he or she is there to guide you. If you knew it already, you would not need a mentor. There is really no purpose in going into a mentorship relationship if the objective for going into the mentorship relationship is not clear. Now we'll look at the role of the bar. The bar exists amongst other things for the welfare of its members. The holistic career development and advancement of the members of the bar is therefore one of the main objectives of the bar. As has been established above, there is a gap in training and employment opportunities for young lawyers in Nigeria. So it is increasingly imperative that the bar provides institutional support for the career development needs of its members. Unfortunately, over the years, the MBA has not played, in my view, as important a role as it possibly could in the advancement of career development, mentorship, and other professional development initiatives. The lack of training opportunities and interaction for the purpose of guidance has made it imperative that the bar must act as a bridge in connecting the experienced lawyers with the younger ones. The policy for this and the philosophy around it must be established, as this is a matter of enlightened self-interest for our profession. In order to continue to grow, the bar must, as a matter of urgency, concentrate on career development initiatives and invest in structures that would advance the development of its members. Mentorship initiatives should rank very highly in the priorities of the bar, as should all aspects of continuing professional development, including continuing legal education. Under the auspices of the Continuing Professional Development Committee of the MBA Lagos branch, which I have the privilege of chairing, we paired 120 young lawyers on what we call the Body Style Mentorship Initiative. We have had a number of group mentorship events with some of the most notable practitioners in Lagos as mentors. I'm also aware that the section on business law of the MBA and the MBA Women's Forum have ongoing mentorship initiatives. But I will only say that all of these haven't gone quite far enough. And there is a question as to whether or not there is effective monitoring and whether institutionally the MBA has invested as much in terms of resources as indeed it should in order to get the results that could accrue from all these initiatives. I'm currently working with the president of the MBA in building sustainable career development structures for the bar. We are working on the establishment of a functional career development center, setting up a law firm mentorship initiative, as well as other mentorship, career development, and training platforms. It is hoped that with the right focus and investment, we will be able to plant trees that the next generation will sit under, and through that, save our profession from possible extinction. In closing, I would ask you to always remember that your professional development is your personal responsibility. Always be conscious of time, because time is a wasting asset, diminished by time itself. Remain focused no matter the challenges. Be bold and continue to aspire. I'll be happy to take questions during the Q&A, and I hope that session will be much more interactive. I wish you all the very best with the conference and congratulate the organizers for what I have found since participating in the earlier session this morning to be very engaging and informative. And I wish you, especially the young lawyers, the best with the future. So take care and keep safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Erojikwe. I'm sure that everyone who's listening to your presentation will agree that it's been very illuminating. A few takeaways for me. The strong warning is you either grow or you die. It's either you're moving forward or you're dying. The speed of the death may differ, but rest assured that if you're not growing, you are dying. You did make mention of the fact that the primary source of mentorship should be the place of employment. But you also gave us an important statistic, which is that about 15% of law graduates get employed in practices with structure. So that means that about 85% of law graduates are not in a position to take benefit of this primary source of mentorship. And I think that is what underscores the role that the NBA as a professional association has to play in mentorship. Thank you very much for that presentation. We're going to be coming back to you during the Q&A. We've come to the end of the presentations by the panelists. Before I open the floor for questions from the participants, I have a few questions that I would like to put to the speakers myself. And I'll start with Mr. Erojikwe. So during your presentation, you gave us an important statistic, which is that less than 25% of law graduates actually get employed in structured law firms. And you also told us that the place of work should be the primary place of mentorship. And you then highlighted in that context the importance of the role that the NBA should play in mentorship. And you did also tell us a few things that the current leadership of the NBA at the national level is thinking of implementing. But my question to you is, considering that leadership at the branches is actually much closer to the lawyers, are there any plans to replicate the kind of thing that the Lagos branch is doing in all the other branches of the NBA? Are there plans by the national leadership to encourage the branches of, I only ask you this question because you've said that you are in communication with the current president on a number of professional development initiatives. I do not presume that you're the mouthpiece of the national leadership. So are there plans to encourage all the other branches of the NBA to embark upon the kind of professional development work that the NBA Lagos branch is doing?
I will call you Chuka. That's what I'm used to calling you, my brother. Yeah. So if I may, when people are done the sake, it becomes a bit difficult. But yes, Chuka. So thank you very much. Very great question. Before I get into that, let me just briefly make a point around the Mrs. Dike's speech. There were issues she raised that I thought it would be important to quickly dispatch with. Now, the issue of pairing is very important in mentorship. And Chuka, you will recall that while you were chairman of the MBA Lagos branch, we had what we call a body style mentorship. And what I say most times around some of these things is that people don't give a lot of thought to what we want to do or what we want to achieve. You will recall that Reginald Udom, your partner who had led on that subcommittee for the one-to-one mentorship at Lagos branch, had actually brought up the idea of what you call the body style mentorship. And his thinking at the time was that rather than have a 60-year-old mentor a 21-year-old, that perhaps there could be more synergy between someone who was perhaps 12 years, 10 years post-call and doing well in their profession, mentoring those people. And one other thing that we did with the one-to-one mentorship was that we made sure that anyone who enrolled filled up a form. I mean, it's not about saying, I can't feel it, I don't know what to feel. If you don't know what to feel, you're not ready for mentorship. So people filled the form, gave their details, talked about certain personal issues and work issues, where they wanted to go. So there was never a chance of somebody who was a litigator being merged with a project finance lawyer and a corporate finance lawyer. No, there had to be, you get it wrong if you're doing it institutionally and you don't pair the right people. Now, the second point she made about under the group mentorship structure where you have people responding to questionnaires. Again, I think it was Chief Anthony Igwe that told us that it would be better, and I found it quite useful, that you ask questions of the mentee around, how old in the profession are you? What is your current career journey? Where do you want to see yourself? That gives you context within which to discuss their issues in a speed mentorship environment. But what you find lacking, and this now goes down to Chuka's question, is lack of strategic thinking about where we want to get to. Now, I remember the discussion I had with Tobenna, and Tobenna, I do remember the conversation, and I was quite impressed that he had approached me to discuss it. And shortly after he did, quite a number of people from Asaba, Onitsha, different branches, spoke to me at the time about replicating some of the things we were doing in Lagos. Now, the unique thing about Lagos really is that Lagos has resources. Lagos is dynamic, so you really need to be innovative and creative about what will work in your environment. But yes, to answer your question, yes, we actually want to use a lot of stuff that's going on in Lagos as a pilot for what would happen across Nigeria. That is actually the thinking. But it's the idea is that, as you said, the branches are closer to the people on a daily basis. So if you don't incorporate them in what you do, then you're not going to achieve a lot. Now, the difficulty you had over the years is the MBA, by its constitution, has a committee of legal education. By its policy and establishment, it has what it calls the Institute of Continuing Legal Education. Now, the thinking philosophically is that legal education on its own is too restricted. So we haven't even had enough activity from the national level around these things. So what we are thinking is to broaden the scope and to think in terms of continuing professional development. And when you're thinking in terms of continuing professional development, then things like career development, at least having a national career development center and having the branches connect directly to it is important. Naturally, the national body should be a policy setting body. However, because of the fact that you have 125 branches, some are not as resourced as others, the thinking is that at the national level, such initiatives should be driven in such a way that the gap between a big branch and a small branch are plugged. And you will recall, Leonard Silk, that when you were chairman, we had a lot of conversation, and to your credit, because you said you clearly wanted mentorship as part of continuing legal education. And then we evolved on to calling it continuing professional development so that it's more holistic and encompassing. But you recall that at the time, one of the biggest debates we had was about pricing and accessibility. And we said we wanted to give it to the people free because we understood that a lot of lawyers in Lagos could not afford to participate. So part of the thinking is that if we're going to have a, say, knowledge sharing session in Lagos, we should be able to create, we should be able to create avenues working with partners where people from other branches can log in online. You know, where we have group mentorship sessions like the one we have with Mr. Bwengo Oyebode MFR, or Anthony Dibwesan, or Dr. Babalaki Aswe Godalo, and all the other learner seniors that were gracious enough to host us. That even though, I mean, when we had the session with Dr. Babalaki, if you remember, we had over 1,000 people log in, live stream into it, and most of them asked questions directly. So you can imagine this was a Lagos branch event. It was an event anchored by the National. In this day of virtual communication, you'd find that it will be easier to carry everybody along. But yes, there is indeed a strategy to, first of all, ensure that, or encourage all the branches to have, one, a chairman of a continuing legal education committee, and then to have constant interaction between the Institute of Continuing Legal Education and the Legal Education Committee of the MB at the national and the local ones. So I think if we're able to do all of that, we would have done a lot in trying to harmonize the structures for development.
Okay, thank you very much. And you made an important point about how we can leverage on technology, you know, to make this work a lot easier. It has always been said that every cloud has a silver lining. With COVID-19, I struggled to see what the silver lining is, but it would appear that the realization that we can now, you know, make use of technology a lot more, you know, to make things that seemed quite complex in the past look really easy. So I think that is one area that the MBA should look into, you know, trying to, you know, leverage on technology to, whether it is CPD at the national level or even at the branch level, how can we use technology to make sure that there's a lot more participation than would have been the case if we were not using technology. So thank you very much for that response. Mrs. Dike, when you made your presentation, you talked about time pressure on prospective mentors. And thinking about that, do you think that, okay, first and foremost, how do you think that this issue as a practical matter can be achieved, addressed? Do you think, for example, that we should promote more of group mentorship, you know, where you have a mentor mentoring, you know, a group of people at the same time, you know, as a solution to getting a mentor, one mentee in a one-on-one mentorship scheme? Do you think that that's something that can work? Or is it an alternative to one-to-one mentoring? What are your thoughts on how we can address this issue of time pressure? Because it's a real issue. You know, I'm a partner in a big firm. I know that my partners barely have time to do anything else. If you're not chasing clients, you're trying to do business development, or you're trying to mentor the young lawyers who are in your practice area or in your firm. So how best do you think we can address this challenge?
Okay, thank you very much, Nana Silk. My thoughts on this would be start early. So the issue of identifying mentors is one that everybody knows, but however, bringing the mentors together in a structured scheme and putting them to say that you must do this in this particular month may not be convenient. So if we create a structure, maybe through the MBA or like what I'm doing in my own community, we have a plan for the year. So this is just a suggestion of what I'm doing. I have an idea of the number of mentors that I want to work with for the next year, looking at areas that we had looked at the year before, and then also futuristically. So we're identifying, for example, law and technology. We're looking at the possibility for virtual labs to exist in Nigeria, where lawyers can go into these virtual labs and understand how applications are being developed. So lawyers who are interested in tech and law and in business can, actually find the right mentee and find the right space. So now what we are doing in our own community is to identify mentors within Nigeria, out in Africa and outside the country. And at the beginning of the year, discuss these plans with them and say, look, this is what we are trying to do. When would you have some time? We're asking for you to do this one-on-one with a particular mentee for maybe a week at a time. The person may not have a full month. So that is something that we are discussing right now with a few of our mentors to see if that can work. Another thing would be to also give the mentees you already have in existence, their bios, their profiles, to these mentors. So it kind of excites them ahead of time. So, for example, you're a partner in a big law firm, you don't have so much time, but you can actually plan your annual leave. So let's assume that if it is in the month of August, where we know that most lawyers are on break because the courts have been, in recess and things like that. That may be a better time to work with somebody like you. Another person may say, no, look, I rather would, like to be on holiday in the summer. So I'd rather do this towards the end of the year where I can chalk it down to my pro bono efforts. So I think that the first thing is to get a list, like a basic list of people that we want to work with per year. So just as the organizers of this conference have been able to sift through and then choose these speakers, we, in trying to correct these issues, can also do that either through the MBA or through the various law firms or through communities like mine that are focused on, building the future generation of lawyers beyond the courtroom. We can actually create that list and then reach out to these people and say, look, what can we do? When can we do it? How much time? So certain mentee situations don't have to be for a month. It can be for a week. So it turns down to speed mentoring and simply just access. So one aspect of mentoring that I didn't really refer to, which I would like to mention now, is access. I know a lot of young lawyers that are thrilled to just be in the room with certain senior advocates. They are just, because they know that if the senior advocate, can notice me and I get to tell him, what I want to be like, the next thing you know, the senior advocate may recommend me to somebody else. Oh, yes, I know a young lawyer who is doing this. So the mentor's time is not necessarily time in onboarding information of what I had done before, my experiences. Is also to identify the possible the benefits and the great qualities that exist in the mentee and connect them, point them in the right direction. Not just point them, actually put them in the right direction. So let's use you as an example, Leonard Silk. You don't have so much time to give out this information. Like what you did at our conference, you just did a video recording. We didn't take your time that day. Now imagine if people had come back to me and said, look, can we go through this mentorship process? They go through the process, they've been screened, and I come back to you and say, Leonard Silk, please, can you give a week of your time to such and such a person? This is the essay the person has written. This is what they've done. This is their area of interest. Can you give 1 week? And these are the pre-assignments that have been prepared for you so that you're not thinking about what to do. You're just putting your own personal experience in that. That's what we're doing in our community. We have our mentorship assignments. We have our mentorship emails that have already been pre-prepared for you, but we leave blank so that all you need to do is put in your personal experience in the year 1970 when this happened to me. But we give you questions to work with. So I think that we need to be more intentional about identifying those who have already been successful. And I would like to also conclude with something that Mr. Erojikwe referred to, the body mentorship that was discussed. I really like that idea because a lot of young lawyers resonate with people who are like them. So for example, I'm not a young lawyer. I'm not by any chance a young lawyer. However, when I'm interacting with them, I come down to the basics. I'm wearing sneakers. I'm saying it's not all these suits and just we're always gisting about, I come down to their level. We are talking, wahala for who don't get bicycle. We are using their language, so they feel comfortable with me because I seem to understand their tone. If it was somebody who was, 30, 50 years at the bar, they would have the respect, but most of them may not. They will ask questions in a very formal way. So I've got people come up to me and say, I almost, didn't continue practicing reading law. In year 3, I wanted to drop out. My father died. I didn't think that legal profession was a profitable profession. So those personal experiences will not come to the fore if mentors are not seen to be approachable. So I really would like to emphasize the body mentorship that was mentioned by Mr. Erojikwe, and I would like for us to create a list and categorize them. Those who are in the elderly senior advocates category, we should ask them for a specific time in the year. The body ones, if they are within the same geographical location, we do the same thing on a one-on-one speed mentorship format. That's the format that has been working for us, and this is my proposal. I hope I have contributed to that question.
Yes, you have. Thank you very much indeed. And just to tell you that you're not the only one who is in love with the group mentorship scheme. When we started it at the MBA Lagos branch, I think in 2017, Tobenna will recall that I think the very first one we did was with Mr. Bengo Yebode. After that, even some senior lawyers in the branch started protesting that why is this for young lawyers alone, that they want to get involved. And I remember that in the subsequent ones that we had, we actually accommodated people who did not fall within the MBA definition of young lawyers. So thank you very much. Mr. Erojikwe, I would like to get your thoughts on that question as well. And in particular, you recall that when we had the group mentorship event with Mr. Bengo Yebode, this issue of time pressure came up as well. And Mr. Yebode did propose something that, for want of better description, I will want to describe as mentorship by observation. You know, he said that you don't have to have a personal interaction with your mentor. And he did tell us how Mr. Chris Ogubanjo mentored him from a distance. So I would like to get your thoughts on this issue of time pressure, and in particular, whether you think that this mentorship by observation, as I would like to call it, it's something that young lawyers should also try to adopt.
Yes, Chuka, I remember the interaction with Mr. Bengo Yebode, and I remember he talked about role models and he talked about Chris Ogubanjo, and he was quite clear as to why he chose Chris as a mentor. I don't think you were at the session that we had with Mr. Aswe Godalo, who actually worked with Chris Ogubanjo himself. So when you put the two side by side, you could really then understand why Benga felt that that Chris Ogubanjo was the right mentor. I mean, I think that in what we do, whatever space, whatever sphere that we live in, having role models is critical to any human being's development. It doesn't matter whether it's our Lord Jesus Christ, it doesn't matter whether it's Mahatma Gandhi, it doesn't matter whether it's Barack Obama. You know, there are people that you admire. You must have role models, people that you like what they do. And reading about them and observing them, and in this day of and year of age of technology, you know, it's easy to follow what people do and try to get in touch with them. You can actually connect with them on LinkedIn. You can do all sorts of things because the time pressure issue is a big issue. And I think that was part of the reason why we felt that if you could bring 100 lawyers in a room to spend 3 hours or so with that type of personality who doesn't normally have time, then you would have covered a lot of ground. But you see, the truth about it is that there are many ways of dealing with these things. Part of the biggest issue, so you know, in life, people have time for what they think is important and necessary. And you see, that's why I started my paper by trying to analyze the issue that we have in Nigeria. And I called it one that is existential to the legal profession. So there's a high level of advocacy required. I think that if a lot of people see it, that because what I have found through my time with the MBA, and this is one of the things that encourages me the most, is that if you ask members of the association to play a role, to participate in an initiative, especially if it is well thought through, they will participate. For instance, today is the worst day work-wise that I will participate in an event like this. But I've participated from morning till now because I think there's real value in what is proposed. So I think two ways: we have to continue to advocate for it and plot it in such a way. You see, monitoring is an issue. When you say to somebody like Mrs. Dike just pointed out, that this is what we need from you. If what we need from you is 1 hour a day, right? 1 hour in a month or 2 hours in a month, and you're going to do this across 12 months, and we sit down and we evaluate and see whether that has been beneficial. And then, you know, once it's coming from the MBA, I'm sure that people will participate. We raised more than 200 willing mentors on a body style mentorship, people who were even outside Nigeria. And they were putting pressure on us to get it running and to monitor it effectively. So, and Chuka, the other one, the final one I say is that we have a proposal that you and I worked on, and we're still working on it to develop it more. It's what we call the law firm mentorship. Now, what is the underlying philosophy behind all these things? It is the fact that whether you're moving in your career, that's why we'll talk about a career development center now, that there is a place where people who are talking career can come to and get knowledge, get information, know how to aspire, who to connect, and even tell the businesses in the country that the MBA can help you match or pair people. You know, that's for career development. But the second level is actually business development. There are a lot of people out there who are running law firms, but they haven't had any form of mentorship in running law firms. So how do we pair small startup law firms with big law firms so that you have a system where, for instance, somebody comes to Aluko Oyebo and they say, okay, the partners are busy, but Aluko undertakes to mentor XYZ law firm that's a startup, you know, and you say, okay, as part of my CSR, I'm going to devote, or the firm is going to devote 2 hours of my time every month to them. So that would entail you're going, attending their meetings, looking at how they keep their books, looking at what they do generally, and then coming back, you know, bringing them to your own firm to gain certain experiences. You know, when I was in the UK, shadowing was a big issue. Who do you shadow? You know, people come to shadow. What does shadowing mean? You can go with me to meetings, you can go with me to things, but you begin to get the nuances of the business. You begin to appreciate how things are done. And that's what all of this is about. But I think it is for the MBA to sit down and say, this is a priority for us. There are people out there who will find the time if we have the platform. That is our experience.
Yeah, thank you very much. All I hear you say is that we need to put a bit more structure around mentorship. And then because the MBA is a massive brand, many lawyers will key into it. And the example, obviously, is what has happened in the MBA Lagos branch. So thank you very much. I'll now go to, we have a few questions that have been asked by the panelists. And I think this is the time for us to go through those questions. There is this question from Asiaka Bridget. And the question says, what are the basic expectations of a mentor from a mentee? How can a mentee get the best and the most out of his her mentor? So the question is to all the panelists. And I think it's appropriate for me to ask Mr. John Bull to take the first shot. What are the basic expectations of a mentor from a mentee? And how can a mentee get the best and the most out of his or her mentor? Mr. John Bull. Are you still with us? Oh, I'm not sure he's still with us. So, Mr. Erojikwe, either you or Mrs. Dike,
Okay.
What are the basic expectations of a mentor from a mentee, and how can a mentee get the best and the most out of his or her mentor?
Well, I think the basic I think that upside that kind of question, but the basic expectation I would have as a mentor to any mentee is that the person is serious and organized and knows what they want. You know, you don't want somebody who is a time waster. So a lot of foundational work has to be done on the part of the mentee. The biggest word for me in the mentorship enterprise is desire. If there is no desire on part of it, so you see, even when you talk about difficulty and time and all of that, you know, at the end of the day, if people understand that you really, really value help from them or support from them, because again, you know, nobody pays anybody money for this. No, it's not your priority. So what you want to see is that your mentee is, you know, very dedicated and determined and desirous of that opportunity and appreciative of it too. Then on the side of getting the best out of your mentor, I mean, it's also the same kind of answer. You know, if you organize and you know exactly what you want, because it's actually about you at the end of the day. You know, it's not about the mentor. It's not somebody that will guide you. So, and that's why when Mrs. Dike talks about the issue around the gap in pairing, it becomes critical. If you choose, and when it talked about Chris Ogubanjo as a role model, you can see the thought that went into it. He didn't talk, and in that era, there was a Rotimi Williams. Rotimi Williams was the biggest lawyer in Nigeria of that era. But he went for Chris Ogubanjo, and how has Mr. Oyebode's practice turned out to be? He's become a commercial lawyer like Chris Ogubanjo was. So he knew where he was going. So if the mentee knows where he's going, then it becomes an easy exercise, because you pick the right person, you ask the right questions, you direct the mentorship exercise the way you want it.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if I could just jump in there with...
yeah, please go ahead.
I know that the question wasn't... I would like to just expand on certain other things. Maybe the question I think was a bit vague, but there's something that I've noticed. There's a trend. A mentor gives a mentee an opportunity and access, and the mentee kind of loses focus. So you walk in, let's assume you've not been, you know, exposed to meetings where you had expatriates in it and things like that, and you come there and you forget that you came to learn. Your mentor automatically becomes your Santa Claus. You want to go for burial, then you now ask your mentor, please, can I have 5,000 naira there? You are losing value. There's something called brand equity. So while you are coming to a mentor because you've assessed the mentor as somebody you want to learn from, you also need to understand that the mentor has also assessed you. Are you good enough? Are you a soil that is worthy to be planted in? So if you are coming in, you need to be able to put yourself out there and say, look, I'm a mentee right now. I may not have attained the success that I want to attain. However, I am goal-driven, I am passionate, I have personal problems, but I'm going to put it aside for the purpose of this, you know, business relationship. So you don't give excuses. You're supposed to come to work, or the mentor gives you an assignment and you say, oh, I couldn't deliver on that assignment because, you know, I had to go and help my mother in the market. No, that's a private conversation. Put your best foot forward. So if you want to be able to get the best out of your mentor, you need to also let the mentor see the best out of you. So that mentor's job will now be to refer you to opportunities that you would probably fit into. So it's very, very important, because a lot of mentees turn around to start saying, I know that person did not help me. It's not fair. But that was not the goal. The person decided to give you access in the first place. So I just wanted to expand on it and put that opinion out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that actually brings me to what I would like to describe as the big elephant in the room. And please forgive my ignorance. Until the 2019 Annual General Conference, I didn't know that sexual harassment was such a big issue within the profession. But when I attended the session, one of the sessions devoted to discussing that, I discovered that it was such a big issue. Now, in pairing mentees with mentors, right? What are the safeguards that should be put in place to ensure that, you know, cases of sexual harassment do not arise within the context of mentorship? So will you, for example, propose that you only pair a female to another female? If you're going to pair a male to a female, are there measures that should be put in place to ensure that, you know, we don't hear ugly stories of sexual harassment within the context of mentorship? And I'm asking this question to both you and Tobenna.
Okay.
You want to take a first stab, or do you want me to go?
You can go ahead, please. Please go ahead.
You know, Chuka, the funny thing about this one is that these days, sexual harassment can be male to male or female to female. So how do you start running away from it? We live in a very strange world. I mean, I think there are so many challenges around what you want to do today. And because it's uncharted terrain, it makes it more difficult. But we have to put in as much, we have to start doing things and doing them the best we can. There are a lot of, you recall that we had a conversation with the Van Center in New York. And at the time we were having that conversation, I thought that they were proposing a sort of female type women group for mentorship and all of that. And I felt, what are they talking about? You know, I didn't think that in the professional space, gender-specific mentoring was had the right place. But I found out now that I'm wrong, and I've had to reestablish communication with them again to explore. And it's not even just because of sexual harassment. It's also because I've come to realize that there are issues in the workplace that women think. Now, I'm not saying that women think are peculiar to women alone. So it's good to have that facility or that platform. However, I think that the MBA, if it's a platform of the MBA, should carry out its basic screening. There are people we believe are reputable in society, and they have a track record. So there has to be proper screening of who we select as the mentors. And then we have to have a proper whistleblowing policy. That means that people can relate back, circle back once there's incidents of sexual harassment or once it's going towards that direction. But I think most crucially is, and we had a manual for all of that when we did our one-to-one mentorship. But I think most crucially, it is critical that people are educated to look out for themselves. It's like an occupational hazard. It could happen. So once you see the telltale signs of it, then one would start running. But I don't think that it will be fair because someone says, or somebody says, I want Mr. Ikwazom to mentor me because I see him, you know, we have a list of mentors. And I hope that one day, you know, mentorship would be one of the criterion for getting some sort of marks or qualification for aspiring to certain positions in the profession. But if somebody says, I want Mr. Ikwazom, I see him in court, oh, his name is there, can I have him? And there's no other person there who is being paired with Mr. Ikwazom, I will say, oh, because you're a female and I'm afraid of sexual harassment, I'm not going to do it. So it's a thin line, but it's one that we have to walk.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Mrs. Dike, over to you.
Yes, okay, so yes, sexual harassment has really been a big issue, and I'm really grateful that now the industry, the legal profession is now paying attention to it, because there are certain forms of sexual harassment that you can report because obviously it has evidence, and there are other forms that are, you know, really right there, but you really do not have the evidence to report it, except if you know it happened in a third party's when it was a third party. So it's really been a struggle. So my answer to the question would be, I would really advise for it to still remain as is, where lawyers, whether irrespective of your gender, is given the same equal opportunity to be paired with a mentor, irrespective of his or her gender. However, there are some caveats there, like Mr. Tobenna alluded to. Prior to the commencement of the mentorship session, there will be specific, rules and onboarding session that it should be very clearly discussed. So both on the part of the mentor and on the mentee, we assume that sexual harassment is only done one way, from the mentor to the mentee. Sometimes it's done the other way, when the mentee is looking at the mentor as a to climbing up the ladder. So we are saying, you know what, I want to be affiliated with this person. At best, I would, affix myself there and somehow I would grow. So in order to also protect both the mentor and the mentee from sexual harassment, there's an onboarding session where it is publicly discussed on the kind of outfit you're not supposed to wear, whether it's a virtual conference, a kind of outfit that are prohibited, whether it's a virtual conference or physical. Also, you're supposed to communicate your hours and timing for your interaction will be clearly spelled out. So we don't expect you to be sending text messages, or I don't understand something in tax law as at 9:30 p.m. I mean, there are certain language uses that you cannot. So you cannot say, hello, love. There are certain things that you shouldn't do to create an environment that can now attract certain things to you. That's on the side of the mentee. On the side of the mentor, they're also asking that whistleblowing should also be done. If somebody has come into your office and has, presented his or herself, and I say his or herself because of the world that we live in today, touched you in any way that's inappropriate, the mentor also has the opportunity to escalate the issue to the organization or to the community that, am I being heard clearly?
Yes, go on, please.
But both the mentor and the mentee will be aware that they have equal opportunity to escalate the matter. Now, we are not deity or divinity, so we cannot prevent everything from happening. But once you understand that this conversation is going to be public, it's not just going to be between the mentee and the mentor, then I think that there will be some sort of restriction. So the idea of pairing just female to female, it's good. We should have that as an option, but it should not be the only option, because at the end of the day, it would kind of be restrictive if we don't have what we are looking for in a particular gender. If a man is looking for something that only exists with where the mentors exist in a female gender, then he's restricted in that area. I think we should leave it as is and then create another platform where gender to gender will be available with very strict and public. I think that the legal industry should be foremost when it comes to whistleblowing. As we were fantastic in the kind of elections that we held, the whole world was looking at us. I think we should also be foremost in whistleblowing and dealing with, number one, malignment of character when it comes to false allegations, and two, proper investigation and punitive actions, public punitive actions that have been taken. Because most of the time people say, oh yes, something is happening to him, but he's a big man, he'll pay his way out of it, or she's a big person, they'll sort it out. No, if it is done publicly, I think that these restrictions can help, not completely eliminate it, but can help. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we've done excellently well with timing. We have 3 minutes to the end of the session. I have one question here from Sewese Yaji Aundo. Permit me if I've mispronounced your name. And the question says, thanks so much, Mrs. DK. Your session has been truly motivational and inspiring. I would like to know how to be a participant of the Young Weeks conference and also be your mentee. Well, this is a direct application. So, Ms. Dika, I'll give you 1 minute to answer this question and say your final word on this issue. And then I'll give Mr. Erojikwe 1 minute as well to say his final word, and then we bring the session to a close.
Okay, you can have access to us at the Young Weeks Conference, and just check us out on the www.thelegalconcierge.org. That's www.thelegalconcierge.org. That's our website. And check us out on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. When you click on the link in bio, you'll be able to join our community. Either you join the general community and indicate your interest, either law, business, or technology, or if you're interested in all three, and then we can take up conversations from there. Then also, I would like to say to the organizers of this conference, as well as the Leonard Silk, our able chairman, and my fellow panelists, Mr. Tobenna, is really, really nice to be on the same panel with you. I have learned quite a lot. I really, really appreciate the privilege of us having these very relevant conversations. And I'm hoping that we can take this offline and have future conversations. And then most likely you see me come back to you and say, look, we have booked a slot for you, Mr. Tobenna, in the month of August for 1 week. Can you please do this for us? So this is something that there's something I always say to my young lawyers. If there's one charge and bail lawyer, then all of us are charge and bail lawyers, irrespective of our designation, because the same Nigerian law school, we're called to the same bar. It's our responsibility while we rise higher to pull somebody else after us. Our true legacy is not what we have become, but who we have built after us. So I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I'm looking forward to working with all of us continually, as well as having more and more mentees. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Erojikwe. You don't have up to a minute, just 20 seconds.
Well, I mean, your offer is well taken and accepted. But just remember, I'm saying this to the conference delegates, what we said. Tell me who your mentor is, and I will tell you how successful you could become. Be meticulous about it. Look out for yourself. Look at platforms and initiatives of growth. Don't pay lip service to it. There is no time. Time is a wasting asset. It is diminished by time itself. So make use of your time wisely. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Erojikwe. Thank you, Mrs. DK. Thank you, Mr. John Bull. And thank you, the organizers of this event. This is the point where we draw the curtain on this session. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the delegates.